Welcome back. Here ends NotebookLM.
So let's start with the question, and it's a big one that's kind of shaped our school systems, our jobs, even how we think about ourselves. The question is simple: are you smart? Let's really dig into that. Because for, over a century now, our culture has had this really rigid way of answering that question. We've tried to boil down all of our amazing, complex human potential into just a single score, a single number. This whole question kicked off a massive debate in psychology. On one side, you've got what's called the hedgehog view, the idea that there's one single general intelligence, the G factor, right? But on the other side, there's the fox view, which says, no, wait a minute, intelligence isn't one big thing. It's more like a whole family of different, distinct abilities. Okay, so into this debate steps psychologist Howard Gardner back in 1983, and he has this totally game-changing idea. He's looking at neuroscience, at what's actually happening in the brain, and he finds this massive contradiction. He points out that someone can literally lose their entire frontal lobes and still score at a genius level on an IQ test. I mean, that just doesn't add up, right? How is that even possible? For Gardner, this paradox basically blew the lid off the deep flaws in our traditional tests. He argued that these tests are just way too focused on school-type tasks, and you know what? They have very little power to predict how you'll do in the real world. But what's even worse, he said, is that they completely fail to measure our potential to grow, and they totally ignore the cultural setting that actually gives our skills any meaning in the first place. All right, so if the old definition is broken, what do we replace it with? Well, Gardner proposed a whole new way of looking at it. For him, an intelligence is a neurobiological potential to process information. But here's the key. It gets activated in a cultural setting to solve problems or create things that are valuable in that culture. See the difference? It's not about some fixed amount you have. It's about what you can actually do with it. Okay, so what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's take musical intelligence, for instance. We're not just talking about being able to read sheet music here. Think about the absolutely flawless recall of an autistic savant, or the incredible skill of a Suzuki-trained violinist, where the music just flows out of them like it's their native language. Or how about this one? A totally different kind of smarts. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Picture the sheer genius of a mime who can build entire worlds using nothing but their body. Or think about the pinpoint precision of a surgeon whose hands are performing life-saving work. Both of these are just incredible expressions of a really deep physical intelligence. And the sheer diversity here is it's astounding, really. Take spatial intelligence. This is the kind of skill that lets a Pulawatt sailor in the South Pacific navigate the vast open ocean using only the stars and the feel of the waves beneath them. But it's also the abstract, strategic mind of a chess master, seeing patterns and possibilities 10 moves down the line. It's the same core intelligence, just applied in wildly different ways depending on the culture. Now, Gardner theory doesn't just stop with external skills like music or navigation. He also identified what he called the personal intelligences. So you've got interpersonal intelligence. That's your ability to understand other people, to get what makes them tick, right? And then you have intrapersonal intelligence, which is like the mirror image of that. It's your ability to understand yourself, to know your own inner world. So, okay, this is all a really fascinating theory, right? But so what? Why does any of this actually matter? What's the practical application here? For Gardner, the answer is huge. It's education. He argues the theory's real power isn't about slapping new labels on people. It's about completely revolutionizing how we teach by creating what he calls the individual-centered school. And listen, this isn't just some vague pie-in-the-sky philosophy. It's a really practical three-step plan. Step 1, you figure out a student's unique profile of intelligences. What are they naturally good at? Step 2, you tweak the curriculum to play to those strengths, teaching them in a way they can actually absorb. And finally, step 3, you connect them with opportunities outside the classroom where those intelligences can really take off and flourish. Maybe the most powerful idea in all of this is that intelligence isn't some fixed thing you're just born with. Gardner himself says our intelligences are not set in stone. They can be changed, they can be developed. And what that means is, with the right environment, with the right resources and opportunities, every single one of us has the potential to grow our intelligence. And that really brings us to the final, huge question this theory leaves us chewing on. It forces us to rethink everything, not just how we educate our kids, but what we even value as a society. Just imagine, what incredible untapped human potential could we unlock if we finally decided to value all these different kinds of smarts equally?
So if this topic has really grabbed you and you want to dive a lot deeper, the book you're looking for is called Frames of Mind, The Theory of Multiple Intelligences, and it's by Howard Gardner.